we're here and it's Monday, so we're gonna talk about True Crime and Makeup Monday. Um, Warning, we have some graphic content, crimes against children, and murder and homicide. So, Alyssa Bustamante. It is like super important to understand that there is like guidelines to diagnosing sociopaths, and you cannot diagnose children.
She spit it out.
Aww.
I won't make you take it this time. I heard her mouth put it in.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Cameron.
Did she get any of it?
No.
So, you can't diagnose children under the age of 18 as being sociopaths, which honestly, Alyssa like threw up all the red flags to me when I was reading about this case. Like, everything about her said she was a sociopath. If y'all remember, a while back I did a story on the girl who didn't like Mondays, and she was also a sociopath, but they couldn't diagnose her as one because she was under 18. Alyssa did not have an easy life. There's no question about that. She was living with her grandparents. I think there was rumors of drug abuse and maybe sexual abuse as well as physical abuse done to Alyssa as a child. I really couldn't find a whole lot on Alyssa herself. Most of my research, whenever I would Google her, would focus on the actual murder and the victim, which, I mean, kudos to those people, because sometimes I feel like in these stories, the victims get lost in the story, and that is sad and unfortunate, but I was really only able to find like 3 pages of stuff total, and I really wanted to have more than that for you guys. But I can't give you what I can't find. So, unfortunately, we just have to work with what we have. I did find some stuff on Alyssa's younger sister. I chose myself not to put any of that in because the younger sister really did not have any party to this other than inviting the victim over to play. I don't think that the younger sister knew what Alyssa was going to do. And more so than that, it was premeditated. Like, she had picked out the victim, she had planned what she was going to do, and she used her little sister to accomplish that. And that's horrible. And I feel for the little sister who probably carries guilt to this day about what happened to her friend. It's just, it's a rough case because there was the victim and then there was the victim of the sister. I feel like in many ways in this case, the little sister was also a victim. And there's going to be people that argue with me. But that to me is similar to saying their wives had to know. No, that's not necessarily the case. They don't always show signs. Even if Alyssa had been jittery that day, that may not have been unusual for her. So I can't, in good conscience, say that the sister was complicit because there was nothing that said that she had any idea what Alyssa was going to do to this little girl or anything else. So I can't in good conscience say that Alyssa's sister has a part in this. And as far as I know, she was not included in any trial. She was not sent to juvenile court. She was not put in juvie. So apparently the police agree with me, and they don't think that the baby sister had anything to do with it. And more so for me, what really got me with this case, when we get into detail here, is that Alyssa wrote about the murder in her journal like it was no big deal. She didn't really seem to care about what she had done or the seriousness of what she had done, which is crazy. Oh, hold on. I don't know, it's just crazy to me. Like, she didn't...
Who's meowing? Melanie?
Or Star. Sorry. She didn't really seem all that upset by what she had done. In fact, she labeled it in her journal as a rush of adrenaline and how great it felt. And I'm like, yeah, see, that's not normal. That's not normal behavior for kids. You know, it's just not. But anyway, let's get into the story so you all can make your own judgments. Elizabeth Olten, 9, who was murdered by her neighbor Alyssa Bustamante, who was 15 at the time, and is now 28, in St. Martin's, Missouri on October 21st, 2009. Like, when I first read this, too, I was like, oh, this isn't that old. And then I realized that it's 2023. And that was 14 years ago. Which is insane to me. Like, I'm old. I'm very old. Okay. And Bustamante lured Olten into the woods and strangled and stabbed her to death. Bustamante murdered Olten simply due to homicidal ideation and to see what it was like to kill someone. She was later indicted and pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and armed criminal action and was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of conditional release in 2024 for second-degree murder. However, due to her additional conviction of armed criminal action, even if she is granted conditional release in 2024, which is next year, y'all, next year, she will have a consecutive sentence of 30 years in prison. This makes her earliest probable release in 2054, when she will be 60 years old. Elizabeth Olten lived 4 houses down from Bustamante. On October 21st, 2009, Bustamante convinced her younger sister to bring Elizabeth to the forest by their homes to hang out. And also, it doesn't seem like the sister thought this was unusual that her 15-year-old sister would want to play with a 9-year-old. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe she wasn't maybe like a babysitter at some point or something like that, because there's nothing that seems to be giving a red flag to the younger sister. Upon Elizabeth's arrival, Bustamante strangled Elizabeth, slit her throat, and stabbed her 8 times in the chest. Bustamante then buried Elizabeth's body in a grave that she had dug 5 days before in the woods behind her house and covered the grave with leaves. So like I said, this was definitely premeditated because, like, she pre-dug a grave and everything. Like, so you know some ish is going to go down because she's pre-planning. She's pre-planning, y'all. And you don't just, yeah. So I was very surprised that she was even eligible for parole in 2024. Or got parole as part of her, like, sentencing, because it was premeditated. And I do believe, like, and the victim was 9. And I'm like, oh, so y'all just really said, that's fine. Give her parole in 2024. Don't give her parole in 2024. What the hell? Sorry, give me just a minute. Eyeliner is a pain to do like this. Alyssa Daleen Bustamante's grandparents, Gary and Karen Brooke, took legal custody of her and her 3 younger siblings in 2002. Since her mother, Michelle, had addiction issues and her father, Cesar, was serving time in prison. I could not find out what he was serving time for. But there was also rumors, like I said, of child abuse, sexual assault, all that stuff. So I don't know if maybe he was in prison for that. I could not find really anything that said what he was serving time for. Friends started noticing changes in Alyssa around 2007 when she was hospitalized after a suicide attempt.
Where's the catnip?
On her YouTube profile, she listed cutting under her hobbies. She had also posted a photograph of herself on social media where she held 2 fingers to her head pretending to shoot herself. It was not an uncommon thing back in that day. That was around the time that I graduated high school, and we all did dumb shiz on MySpace, and Facebook was just coming out. Yeah. So that was not uncommon back then from my era, but apparently it was unusual for Alyssa to behave in this manner. So it raised some red flags for people. After the murder, Bustamante wrote in her journal, though later attempted to scribble it out, "I just fucking killed someone. I strangled them and slit their throat and stabbed them, and now they're dead. I don't know how to feel ATM at the moment. It was amazing. As soon as you get over that, oh my god, I can't do this feeling, it's pretty enjoyable. I'm kind of nervous and shaky, though, right now. Okay, I gotta go to church now, LOL." The LOL was the part that that got me, because I'm like, how are you just going to be that casual about it? Like, yeah, I murdered somebody, but it's not that big a deal, LOL. It's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big deal, Alyssa. Like, I just, it's like, for me, in general, like, serial killers, I'm like, how can you just be so casual right now? Like, you just, She then attended a church dance. Bustamante was actively involved in her local Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints while police searched for Elizabeth. Bustamante first appeared in court on November 17, 2009. Where she pled not guilty and was indicted on first-degree murder and armed criminal action due to using a knife in the murder. In January 2012, she took a plea deal to the lesser charges of second-degree murder and armed criminal action. A few weeks later, she was sentenced to life imprisonment with the possibility of conditional release and a consecutive sentence of 30 years. Her appeal against the sentence was denied in March of 2014. The victim's mother, Patricia Priest, agreed to settle the lawsuit she filed against Bustamante. The terms of the agreement require Bustamante to disclose any compensation for case coverage to Priest. Or Priest. Alyssa was seen by several mental health professionals who all testified that she has major depressive disorder and borderline personality disorder. Yeah. Alyssa's case was profiled in Deadly Women on October 19, 2012. A thriller film loosely based on the case called My Name is A by Anonymous was released. The murder was the topic of an episode of Kids Who Kill. I'm going to change and I'll be right back, guys. So, essentially, Alyssa is not getting out anytime soon. Especially if her earliest conditional release is 2054. Because of the arms charge. So, I don't think we need to worry about it too much, but yeah. And you know, there are people who are like, well, it was just one victim, so it's not as bad. For me, any case that involves children is bad. And I wish people understood that more. And didn't try to argue semantics of, oh, it's just one victim, so it's not like the other serial killers of the world. No, you're right, it's not, but it's still bad. We still don't want it. You know. Still not a good thing. So that is the sad but true story of Alyssa Bustamante and Elizabeth Olten. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the segment. Sorry it was short today. I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with me. And be here next week because we will be moving into our history segments and we'll be starting with Madame Delphine Lalaurie. So be here for that. Have a wonderful day. As always, please make good choices. Don't do anything I wouldn't do and be cautious and kind to others. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.